there was a sister that had wrote me an email, and she was talking about when I said that my only regret was my great grandmother not living long enough to see how much I've developed as a human being. And she asked me, what was it that went down in particular your life that made this come out of you? Well, there was a day of where I was in my bedroom, and um, another thing about me is when I was young, I didn't have anyone to help me understand what an introvert was. And so you're dealing with a child who who had anger issues, and you also had a child who was an introvert and didn't know that he was introvert, that he didn't like being bothered. So there was one particular morning, my mother just came in and just interrupted whatever I had going on, which is something that she used to do a whole lot. I'm just going to be totally honest with you. I couldn't stand my mother when I was coming. I just didn't like her. You know, she was always keeping chaos going. But one particular morning, my great grandmother had to go to the doctor, and she had to go into a specific area over in a black and Puerto Rican neighborhood that was right next to this high school that was called CBS. CBS was a high school that was almost 2 blocks long. However, over there, there was predominantly the black community and a Puerto Rican community, and it was a community of this gang called the El Rookets, and there was another gang called the Vice Lords. So there was always some gang violence going on. And simply because I was a martial artist and a boxer, um, my mother asked me to go over there with my great grandmother that she would be able to go to the doctor, check on her health. So that made me very angry because, as I said before, I had anger issues, and I was an introvert, and the majority of the times I didn't like being bothered by people, because this was after the effects of everything that I was talking about in the previous video. So what I noticed with my great grandmother is that she knew that I wasn't just angry, I was enraged. I mean, it wasn't physical, but she knew that I was I was angry, I was enraged. And it hurt her feelings, even though she didn't say that in her feelings. I could look at my great grandmother and tell that she felt like, don't he understand I need him here with me for my protection? And they had confidence in my protection over my great grandmother because of the environment. The environment was so so violent. But even then, I couldn't, due to the fact that I knew that I was sent to be her protector, I couldn't humble the rage inside of me because just didn't want to bother. I was a kid who had anger issues, and I was an introvert up on top of that, and didn't know what an introvert was. I didn't know what being an introvert was. I didn't have any understanding on different levels of anger or rage or anything. I was totally ignorant of these things, and all of this inner turmoil was going on inside of me. However, it was being used in order to protect my great grandmother, I had to acknowledge it. So as I got older, and I learned what meditation was. I meditated on that particular day, and it helped me understand it exactly the conflict that was going on inside, and so this is why I have said that my biggest regret was her not living to see how much of a better human being that I have developed into being because of my learning of myself and my effort to learn not only about anger, but what anger is, and finding out what I was coming up in terms of being an introvert, because I could never understand how come I don't. There are times I absolutely just don't want to be bothered by no one. Now, a whole lot of people would say it's probably because you're an Aquarius and your sign, But to me, if I can perceive that there's something that is wrong about certain aspects of my personality, if I'm unable to change those aspects of my personality, I could at least try to understand it, and through understanding, I'm able to govern those aspects of my personality a lot more effectively. You can only govern what you come to understand. That's what the last statement of my video was implying. Whatever's going on inside of us as human beings will consume us if we don't obtain some understanding of not only who we are, but mostly what we are and what we have been created of, which is the nature of the dual components of the Creator himself. I put those two videos before. I used the one from Legend a couple of times when he was saying that you can never defeat me. We are brothers eternal. See, even though they manifested that as a character for a movie, that is the demonic nature of every human being. And when he said, or when it said, you can never defeat me, it's telling you I will always be present. But the lie is, you can actually defeat it if you grow to understand its nature. But you can't deny it. You have to accept it, that this is the way that I was made by the divine creator. Because the divine creator also holds the essence of that same demonic force, because the creator created the evil of which lives inside of us. Now, a lot of people may say, oh no, God is good all the time. So you're saying that God was good during the creation of evil, when evil is considered not good, even though there is a dual component even to evil, which is called a necessary and evil that is necessary for the sake of good. This is when God passes its judgment on a people or a situation that refuses to change for the better, to where people will look at the actions, the function, and the results of which God's judgment, and they say, wow, that's cruel, that's evil. But it was an evil that was executed for the necessity to establish a goodness. So there's something called a evil that is necessary, which is a necessary evil. It is an evil that is necessary. And the reason why it said, we are brothers eternal, is because due to the fact that evil exists because of good, then those two are related to one another. They're brothers, like he said. We are brothers eternal. So you will never defeat me. I'm going to always be present inside of you. And this is the reason why we as human beings are always battling within ourselves. As I always say, there is no mythical, tangible being that is floating around outside of yourself that is causing all of your conflict. You know, this mystical character that the church and the religion of the world call the devil, or like the Islamic people say, Shaitan, which is another way of the Christians saying Satan. You are not, as a human being, divorced from that. That is of our nature. Because the nature of the Creator is good and evil. This is why the Creator had said, I create war and I create peace. I create good and I created evil. I, the Lord, created all of these things. Everything that is created as an extension from the very essence and nature of the Creator. And the Creator is telling you, God is telling all of us, the evil that you see in the world, the evil that you feel inside, the evil that is going on inside of you, I created that. But the whole thing is, you have to grow to understand it in order for you to be able to govern it. And once you go inside, allow yourself to be led inside, face yourself, and you see it and you accept it as a part of you, and you grow to understand it, then you make the conscious decision on how you are going to utilize it for your particular destiny. There are a lot of human beings on the planet that utilize their demonic side for demonic purposes. There are some people, as myself, who would rather allow the Creator to utilize our thoughts and actions pertaining to our demonic side for only purposes that are divine. Now, what the video was talking about was that I was a child and I had anger issues because I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't understand anger itself because I didn't have a father who cared enough to come around to help me understand what was going on inside of me. I was also an introvert. So I wasn't just, as most would say, non-sociable. I enjoyed my own company so much that I wanted to be off to myself. But when you are living in a chaotic environment, having anger issues and being an introvert at the same time, a lot of people perceive you as being non-social. That's how my mother perceived me to be, non-social. So what she would do, she would try to violate that instead of asking me, why are you like this? My mother never questioned me. She just condemned me as an evil person. She used to tell me all the time, you're just evil. You are evil. I had the type of mother, even when I was a small child, and I was surrounded by different characters from comic books. You know, I had a huge comic book collection, Captain America, all of these characters. When it came to Halloween costumes, my mother would never ask me who I wanted to be. She would just go out and get me a devil costume. She said, here, put this on. Because this is how my mother saw me. My mother perceived me as an evil child. An evil child that was not gangbanging, wasn't smoking, wasn't drinking, wasn't doing drugs, but I was evil. And I was pretty much the only person within the home that wasn't doing evil. I just wanted to be left alone because I was an introvert and didn't know what an introvert was. So I was in conflict of not understanding how come I don't want to be bothered. However, when you are a child growing up in a chaotic environment and you are in total opposition characteristically of being a chaotic person, you remove yourself from that chaotic environment because you don't relate to that. That's not how you want to live, because that's not and what you are inward. So you separated yourself from your family, and that was perceived as being non-social and evil. So you have a mother who quickly condemns you instead of trying to figure out not only who her son is, but what he is. So as time goes on, you get out on your own. You get away from the hostile environment. You go through a whole lot of different relationships. You find yourself being abused in a whole lot of areas. However, as you mature and you become enlightened, you come to understand that that abuse was a necessity for you to come to learn the aspects of not only life itself, but you as a human being. So you come to understand that the life journey is full of a lot of areas to where you are going to have to suffer in order to learn certain areas of living and yourself, simply because you didn't have anyone in terms of parenting to prepare you for these things. And so you go through your life experience being forced into the position to have to learn things strictly on your own. And for a little while, you go through life and you have this anger towards your parents because you feel as though they didn't prepare you. I wasn't prepared for relationships. I wasn't prepared for anything. Anything and everything, I had to find out for myself. However, you also had abusive parents. So you come to understand why the Creator put them in the position to where not only were they interested in telling you anything, they wasn't able to tell you anything because you personally were turned off by your parents because of who they were and what they were. So your whole life was designed for you to be only educated by one divine force, and that was God. God. So once you come to understand that, you grow to govern yourself in a certain manner to the point where you become psychologically, spiritually, and intellectually productive. And so it's not an easy journey, and it's a hard journey, but a wise person and a mature person would have it any other way, because anything easy is not worth having. So as you move forward in life, you come to understand what an introvert is. You understand anger itself, and you come to understand that once you understand these certain entities like anger, happiness, joy, being an introvert, once you understand what those things mean, then you are able to govern those entities because you understand the nature of them and the function of them and the psychological and emotional effects of these certain activating entities that are strictly and only from the Creator. So know thyself is very important. And so as you grow in understanding, you grow because the root of that growth is wisdom. And so it says, in all thy getting wisdom, in all thy getting, get an understanding. So as you get an understanding of wisdom, and during the journey of your growth, it is very important to understand humility. And the key of humility is to be maintained in humility, that one may not destroy himself. So humility is key. So a lot of people say, stay humble. Stay humble. However, the remaining of being humble is humility, which is a movement that derives from being humble. So you walk the earth in humility. And through all of those gifts from the Creator, those things are most beneficial. Now, the second footage that I used was from The Lord of the Rings. And it was that scene when Gandalf, the character Gandalf, was pulled down into the depths of hell by this demon. I had shared with a brother of mine, when I first saw that, I told him I saw myself as Gandalf, and I saw myself also as that demonic force that was trying to lead him, pull him into hell. And I saw Gandalf was fighting that demon, and therefore I saw the battle within myself. So you go you fight all the way down to the very depths of your particular hell. You have to fight. And as you're fighting, you're in the state of understanding and everything. And you're fighting against that demonic force within yourself instead of giving into it simply because you owned up to it. Doesn't necessarily mean that you have to give into it simply because this is a part of your nature. You don't have to give into it. It's just a part of the way that you were created. And this is one of the reasons why it is so, death of the self is so important. This is the reason why Yeshua had told Brother Nicodemus, except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God. He has to be born again in the spirit of God. And so we're not talking about anything tangible. This tangible organism in which accumulates all of this information, which is demonic. You have to, at some point in your life, die to it. But the only way that you are going to be able to die to it, you have to go against it. You have to battle. You have to fight. You have to own up to everything that you've accumulated that has made you and what you are. You have to own up to it, and you have to fight it all the way down to the depths of your inner hell. And as the movie demonstrated, next, Gandalf had defeated that demon, and he called himself Gandalf the White, and therefore Gandalf became pure. And so the whole battle of the self is an act of self-purification. The reason why it's called self-purification is because you have made a conscious choice to go against your demonic nature and to side with your divine nature, that you may be purified and therefore born again into the spirit. This is what Yeshua was talking about. So the whole journey, the whole fighting journey that was illustrated in the movie was a form of Gandalf dying to his current self, which was demonic, and he was fighting against it. And then the next Lord of the Rings had presented him as being victorious in the battle against his demonic self. And so even though that nature still exists in us, you have to be born again to the degree to where it won't rule you in a demonic sense ever again. But you're now put in the position to where the Creator can look upon you and say, this is my son or daughter with whom I am well pleased. Now, even though you still have that demonic nature sitting inside of you, due to the fact that you were born again in the spirit, that demonic nature can only be utilized as a necessary evil for the sake of doing only that which is good. So with all thy getting, get an understanding of oneself, because you can only govern what you come to